We will, we will unshock you. This is Unshocked. Hello, everyone. This is Reggie. Welcome to another episode of Unshocked, the program where we get into in depth discussions about different cultures and gain insights into how our differences actually work together to make our lives better. For some of us, Halloween has already ended. But for others, for example, Filipinos like myself and Mexicans, the celebration of spirits and the afterlife actually carry on until November 2. So when this episode gets posted, depending on your time zone, there might still be families in the middle of these celebrations. In some other places, these same ceremonies last even much, much longer, as we shall see. And in Australia, as we shall also learn later, they sort of have much more earthly scares than your creatures of the night. We'll actually be learning about a lot of fascinating stuff, and who knows? Maybe some of what you learn will even be scarier than your Halloween. So let's dive into our first discussion. My first returning guest is George Bonifacio, and in episode 3 of our back catalog, we talked about how it is to be an adult and still live with your parents. Yeah, seriously. You should go check that out. The link is in the description, and we'll also mention that later. This time around, George and I talk about scares in Vietnam. So strap yourselves in. This might get enjoyably spooky. Sorry, sorry. Hello, welcome back to Unshocked. If you're only just tuning in for the first time, we actually have other episodes. And one of those previous episodes would have been a discussion between myself and Sir George Bonifacio.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah, yes. Welcome back.
Everybody in the internet world.
Sir George is the proprietor,
Yes,
right?
yes,
O-
yes.
Of
Co-owners.
one of the co-owners
Yes, with
of
my sisters.
yes, yes, with your siblings of Cafe Saigon. Well, you would call it a specially Vietnamese cuisine restaurant that
Yes,
has outlets.
only two
Certain
muna.
number. Oh yeah, okay, okay.
Only
Two,
two pa lang.
but two very very special outlets in Metro Manila.
Yes,
And
we hope so.
you're half Vietnamese and half Filipino, so
Yes.
you have a Filipino slash Christian background and a Vietnamese slash, I think, more of Buddhism background.
In Vietnam, like in the Philippines, I think the Philippines is around 70% Catholics and 30% Muslim.
Yes, yes,
In
something like that, something
Vietnam,
like that.
ang Buddhism, ang Buddhism is around 80%.
Oh, okay, okay.
So
So
their culture is really entwined in the beliefs of the Buddha, and they do have a lot of beliefs in the afterlife, in reincarnation, and in the afterlife.
we're actually going to talk about scary stuff. So
I'm not really a very superstitious person.
yes, you're not the sort who would be
So
inclined
let me. I hope I could contribute when it comes to
so
their
yeah, you're
Buddhism
saying that
beliefs.
there's a deep undercurrent of Buddhist belief in society over there.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
so you cannot help but get involved somehow in some of the traditions as part of blending in with the society's habits over
Oh.
in Vietnam.
Well, as far as I can recall, when we go on vacations in Vietnam when I was younger, I was forced. I was forced by my grandparents to
Yeah.
participate. Yes, with the lighting of the incense, ringing the brass bowl.
So you have to use
Woo!
implements or what you call instruments of worship or
Yes,
veneration.
yes, yes, yes. My aunts and uncle taught me to give respect to the departed by offering food in an altar. So you
Whoa,
should
okay.
remember in
Yes, yes,
Vietnam, if you
yes.
go to Vietnam, They're really really very close to their death ancestors. So,
Yeah.
so you can always expect a small altar or a small offering table in every household. So they just believe in the energy and the afterlife, and they believe in reincarnation, and they really believe that the spirits of their dead walks among them. You should go to Vietnam and walk the streets at night.
Mm-hmm.
It's so quiet. They do have this culture of respecting the night because they believe that their ancestors are there. So hindi,
Whoa.
it's not like all your ancestors are friendly.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. So it's like you're continually in the company of spirits.
Yes, because their culture is very very deeply knitted in the spirits of their dead. They believe that once a person dies, the spirit either lives among them or reincarnates into another life form.
Okay. Okay. The popular imaginary scary beings, you could say, in
Mm-hmm.
mostly Western media, they're like mythical monsters, like vampires or werewolves. You know that.
Monsters, yeah.
Yeah. How about
Monsters,
in Vietnam?
they
How
do
about in
believe in
Vietnam?
it.
Do they also believe in
Yes,
folklore like that?
yes, yes. They do believe in in folklore and
Hmm.
monsters and spiritual beings walking on, witnessing sightings of women in white. They don't. They also have
Oh.
those kind of things there. Yes, we have the tikbalang. They also have a version of a tikbalang.
Okay, okay. For the
I
benefit of
think
the viewers, tikbalang is a
it's like a
being that looks
monster,
like a horse, right?
a
Is that
horse. Yes, half horse, half human.
yeah? It's like a
Yeah,
werehorse. It's like a werewolf that
yes.
a
They also
horse.
have that version in Vietnam. I think it's called Ong Babi. Ong Babi.
Wow. Okay. A lot of
Yeah,
people
so
might
they
not know
call it
that.
Ong
That
Babi,
yeah.
and
Okay.
roughly translated in English, it's their version of the boogeyman. So
It's an antagonistic.
it's a monster
It's an
giant.
antagonistic being. You know, it's supposed to
Yes, with
terrorize
long claws, long
persons.
hair. Yes. So
Wow. Okay, I'm gonna try to
mothers
find
and
a picture of
parents,
that. Yeah.
my aunts and uncles would tease me when I was like 4, when I was vacationing in Vietnam. They would tease me not to go out at night. When the sun goes down, all the children should be inside the house, or Ong Babi will take you.
Because it will
Yeah.
take kids that do not follow
Yes.
their parents.
Yes. So
Wow.
when the sun goes down and they have a curfew, and I think it's around 7 or 8 p.m.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So if you're not inside the house, the parents will tell them, "Oh, watch out! Ong Bobby will get you."
Would there be many dark corners?
Yes, there
Dark
will
alleys?
be. Remember, Vietnam is a French occupied country, so
Uh-huh.
the architecture and the design of their homes resembles a French Quarter. If you know what a French Quarter looks like, it's a very
Okay.
narrow street. It's
Uh-huh.
a very narrow street with houses. So that's basically the design of a neighborhood in Vietnam. It's very narrow.
Oh. Mhm.
So if you're walking late at night and nobody is in the street, it's very very scary. It's not very wide
Ah,
like
there are
a
many
regular
shadows.
street
That
in
is
the
saying.
Philippines. So there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
shadows. There's trees and everything. So if you can imagine a very very narrow alleyway,
Uh-huh.
that even a car can't pass sometimes. Only motorcycle.
So you're saying just for the benefit of the viewers, right? Because when you mention normally half human, half horse, they probably think of something like like it's the human half that's the head and the shoulders. But what we're saying here is in our particular Southeast Asian mythology, it's the horse head that you see.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the horse's head that you see on human shoulders and maybe a horse
Yeah.
horse legs. So you're like looking at the lower half of what they would say the goat version of the devil, right? You would see hooves instead of feet. So
Yes, precisely.
yeah, it's that kind of monster, right? It's not a human-looking monster,
No,
that you
no,
see a
no.
human face. No, it's a horse's head. You see,
Ong Babi,
ang
yes.
Bobby. That's just one of them. So you're saying that
This
there,
is one of them. There's a lot.
yeah.
I mean, my grandmother will always tell me about Mada, Mada.
Oh, not a
You
lot of
know,
people know. I wouldn't know about that. Yeah.
she's a water ghost.
So,
So she's a woman. She's a
mhm.
woman. According to her, she's a woman that floats around because Vietnam also. If you walk around the city, there's a lot of
Uh-huh.
creeks and streams inside the
Okay.
city, canals and streams and
Maybe.
rivers,
Mhm,
small
mhm.
rivers that
I can picture it. Yeah, I can picture.
they have this superstition of finding
Uh-huh.
a woman floating on water late at
Whoa!
night.
Okay. So
It's
yeah,
like
it's always
it's
at
like
night, right? It's always at night.
yes,
Dead of night. Sorry.
yes. She's covered in also in white, and nobody can see her face, but they can see her floating. Some people say they witness it, but I don't know. But according to my grandmother, that lady was like her husband and her child died in an
Uh-huh.
accident. So she's eternally searching for her husband and child along the river because
Okay.
I think they say the husband and the child drowned because
Mm-hmm.
the boat capsized or something during a storm. So she's eternally searching for her husband floating on the river banks. So that's what
Whoa.
they say.
That would look scary. Actually, that would look
Yes,
scary. If you just
yes.
imagine a woman in flowing white, I don't know, white vestments, something like white robes, floating in the
I
middle
don't
of
know why
a
why
body of
does
water.
why does whitely scares
Well,
people.
yeah, I mean, even in Japanese horror, you have the symbol of a lady who's really pale and in white, and she's supposed to be like a contortionist who can appear out of nowhere, and she'd be all
Oh,
covered in blood, and so
mhm.
it's fairly common. Yeah.
The ones I mentioned, the Ong Babi and the Mada, it's
Mhm.
that's
Ah.
the ones that the parents and the grandparents tell the children to scare them to do things. If you don't go to sleep, Ong Babi will get you.
Would there be any creatures that go into your bedroom at night
Yes.
or appear in your bedroom?
Ah. Well, not a creature, but a floating head would do.
Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There's this one horror story in Vietnam about Malay. It's Malai. She can penetrate walls and doors to enter your bedroom. Her head detaches from her body
Okay,
in
okay.
search of
Uh-huh.
I think of her husband or children,
Ooh. Uh-huh, uh-huh.
something like that. Once her head penetrates the rooms and walls, she would go back to her body, then kidnap the children or the husband.
Uh-huh.
According to them, the only defense is if you find something like that, try to hide the body. I don't know if it's a creature or something,
Uh-huh,
or part human being, but her
uh-huh.
head detaches and floats and
Uh-huh.
floats
Okay.
inside your
That
bedroom, and your body is left outside waiting
uh-huh,
for your head
uh-huh.
for you to return and go inside the house with the go back to your body and kidnap the child inside the house, something like that.
So, um, you just see a floating head, just a head.
Mm.
The way you tell those stories, makes me very curious, and actually gave me a few chills because you recall, being children and
Oo.
were told these stories, and you
Oo.
you do actually imagine the experience.
Yes.
Okay, just one more overview of how the dead actually take part in the activities of the living. This is not necessarily a scary concept. It just depends. You could say on the attitude of the ancestors. Is that
In our religion, in being a Catholic and Christian, we
Mhm.
believe that we have an angel behind us.
Yes, yes,
Do
yes,
you
yes.
are you familiar with that saying that an
Yes,
angel
there's
is
a
looking over you?
yes, there's a guardian angel.
They
That's
also
actually
have
also
that also there because they feel it. They feel that just like that they'll be saying, "Oh, my grandfather's beside me," because I can feel that something happened. Para may, there's signs. They believe in signs also that the spirits are in a way, in their way, the spirits are influencing them with their lives. Like decision
oh,
making or
okay.
something,
Yeah, yeah.
or vital, vital issues of the family. They would pray and ask for signs of what to do.
To their
That's
ancestors, right? Yeah, yeah. You're appealing to the
yes,
ancestors
that's
to
how
help
very
you.
deeply the spirits of their dead is influencing their lives every day. But they don't call it angels. They call them their grandfather, their father, their mother, their dead grandfather. They would say that, oh, Bawa is watching out for me. Oh, Bawa is behind me. So they really are very careful. They really do consult their dead, by praying in the altar because it's in the living room. Usually the altar is in the living room. Once you go inside the house, the first thing you're gonna see a big ass altar, with pictures of the dead and candles and incense.
Talking to the dead is like sometimes characterized as scary because like how you see movies about Ouija boards, right? You're talking to the dead, but it's supposed to be a scary thing. But you're saying that in Vietnam,
Uh,
it's not really that scary because you're actually just talking, to people you actually knew.
for them, it's just natural. It's so natural. It's so organic that you're just sitting down having coffee. Then just like that, you remember your dead brother or your dead wife or your
Okay,
dead
okay.
grandfather, and then you
Yeah.
have a conversation. That's
Okay, okay.
because
Yeah.
I can see through my uncles and my aunts also when we're together. I can just see them talking, and then all of a sudden, like
Yeah, it's like a
giving a
normal part
nod,
of the
or I don't
conversation,
know. I
right?
don't know.
Yeah. It's not nothing
I
too
just feel
special.
that they're talking to somebody.
Yeah, they feel that they're genuinely communicating.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
it's
you're saying.
very
Yeah.
natural. It's
Woo!
nothing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But
That's spectacular. Yeah.
yes, yes, but like their Halloween. Let's talk about their
Mhm.
Halloween.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question. How many days? What are the dates of Halloween?
Uh in the US, it's actually just you know.
November 1.
Sorry, it's actually October 31. That's
Okay,
yeah.
maybe
But
October
in
31.
the Philippines and in Mexico, right? We both
Yeah,
have
yeah, they
Dawn of
have
the Dead.
the Day of the Dead. Also
Yeah,
Monday,
and yes, and in the here in the Philippines, you have All Souls Day,
All Souls Day, and All
uh,
Souls.
and All Saints
So
Day.
maybe 2 to 3
Two to
days.
3 days.
Holiday,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
official holiday, 3 days.
Yes, yes.
You know how long they celebrate the dead in Vietnam?
Uh,
It's during the seventh lunar month of the year.
uh-huh. Yes,
Okay,
yes. Following the lunar.
and they call it the ghost month.
Okay, so it's called the
Ah,
Ghost Month.
okay. Falls on the eighth month of the Gregorian calendar, which is
Okay.
August.
Uh-huh, uh-huh,
Which is August. So
uh-huh.
they celebrate their ghost month on August.
It's called the Ghost Month.
August is a ghost month, and that's
Oh,
precisely
okay.
what they call what Vietnamese call that month, ghost month. So
Okay.
they
Yeah.
celebrate the dead for the whole month, 30 days.
Yeah, wow, that's like a whole Halloween
Diba? Mind
month.
blowing,
Yeah.
mind blowing.
You couldn't even imagine it. No, no. If you're
Can you
unfamiliar with
imagine?
it,
Can you imagine celebrating the day for
yeah,
30
for
days?
30 days instead of just
You have to go on your
one or
regular
two
life.
days.
There's rituals. There's rituals. There's celebration. There's parades. There's it's a one
Wow!
one month
A
happening.
whole 4 weeks of reminding yourself of the afterlife and
Correct.
yeah,
Correct.
and spirits. Wow!
So comparing to the Philippines, Vietnam really do they really adore their deceased and ancestors.
Or they're very in touch with their beliefs about the presence of the afterlife.
And okay, let me just give you a few facts about the month of the dead, or ghost month in Vietnam. Okay, in the
Uh-huh.
West, they dress up scary, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
They have
in
costumes.
Vietnam, it's totally reverse. You have to be on your best clothes, walking the streets,
Oh,
celebrating
okay.
your ancestors.
Uh-huh.
You can't wear black. You
Yeah.
can't wear
Okay.
black.
Okay.
They
What does
they
black?
they
What would
recommend
black
that you
mean?
wear pastel colors.
Black would mean sadness. Is that it?
Maybe traditionally black and white is correlated with the dying. So they don't
Oh,
want that.
okay.
You're not allowed to wear white. You're not allowed to wear black. And then, like everything else, there's food offering in front of the house. Anybody can take. Children, adults, they can get some food. You have to put a table outside your house with offerings. For any
Wow.
stranger to get.
Uh-huh.
Then they have celebrations every night. So it's a very hectic month for them actually.
This is just a short program, but hearing about it already makes me think that a lot of people will look more deeply into that. It
Can
sounds
I ask you
much
a question,
more.
Reggie? I mean, have you been to Vietnam already? No, not yet.
No, no, I haven't been to Vietnam.
You should. You should travel. I mean, if you're really interested in the culture, you know.
We talked a lot about Vietnamese culture in our episode before. So I encourage people to look up our I guess it was the third or the fourth episode. Right now we're talking about ancestors, but during that episode we were talking about our elderly, the people
Yes.
who are still with us actually in this life. And yeah, about visiting Vietnam, if anyone can have the opportunity, I would say, yeah, go visit. I will if I do have the opportunity. But let me just go over this part of the question because it's actually relevant to people who are going to visit. W-
Okay.
what would you say are the real scary stuff in Vietnam? It's like, would you be open
Uh
to discussing that? Think that you can experience.
I haven't yet to experience any supernatural happenings in my visit to Vietnam, because my last visit was last July. Me and my family went to Vietnam for a week last July.
So you wouldn't particularly think of anything that would be
Scary.
scary to a
Look, look,
visitor.
look. Yeah, like I said before, I mean, I'm not a very superstitious person. I mean, I don't believe in goblins and the
Yeah.
boogeyman. When I was younger, I guess maybe when I was younger, when I was
Uh,
very young, I believe in them, so I know them. But at my age, at this point in time in my life, I mean, I don't think so.
okay.
You
Okay.
just respect, or you just pray that when you're walking in a dark alleyway, you just pray that you might go home safely.
Yeah.
That's all you can
How,
do.
how
That's
about
all you can pray for.
but yeah, I mean I'm saying it's like saying if you do follow precautions, like very
Oh,
logical precautions.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
just
you're not gonna come
common
in,
sense, di ba? You use your
especially come
common
into an
sense.
yeah, you're not gonna have to worry about coming into any harm, right? Yeah,
Oh, correct.
yeah.
Correct.
How
Hmm.
about discussions about the Vietnam War or discussions about that? Will that get you into any trouble? Is that a scary thing to talk about? Not in
you
the
won't get
way
in
that.
trouble. No,
Okay,
no, no,
okay.
no, no, no.
That's not really a scary
Actually,
prospect.
no. When you're in Vietnam, I mean, the Vietnam War is was a very tragic
Yes,
happening
yes,
for
because it.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of people really suffered and died, and
Yes.
in a way, that's what developed the characteristic of the modern Vietnamese person. I mean,
Okay.
they're very hardworking. Their mothers
Uh-huh.
and their grandparents were after the war was very hardworking. They
Uh-huh.
grew up hard. They grew
Uh-huh.
up surviving.
You can say
Because
like
food was scarce after the Vietnam
mhm.
War.
Yes, there were a lot of difficulties during
Food
that
was
time.
scarce in the Vietnam War, and yeah, they face a lot. Especially my grandparent, my grandmom,
Uh-huh.
my
Uh-huh.
grandmother.
Uh-huh.
She really worked so hard to protect her family and my mom and my aunts. You know,
Uh,
so imagine
really?
they're they're nine siblings. You know,
Yeah, and in the middle
so
of war, right?
oh, in the middle. So
Yeah.
in a way, they're very proud of their achievement after the war, and
Mhm.
in a way, the war was like a what do you call this? It was like a shameful act for them,
Oh, okay, okay.
and they just want to forget.
Uh-huh.
The Vietnam War is like an uncle that you don't want to see again. Alam mo, you know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can
You
say
know
that.
that
Yeah, yeah,
feeling
yeah,
that
yeah.
I don't want to
It's
hear
part
about you.
of history,
I don't want
but
to talk about you. So
mhm.
you know, so just be sensitive of people. If regarding the war, and but more or less, more of the time, they'll just smile and talk about their hardships.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's
Mm.
not something you should particularly find. So
But you can visit the war museum. I mean,
yeah, you should be
there's
cautious, right? You should be
oh
sensitive and cautious
just be
when
sensitive about what
treating,
you say.
yeah, when treating
Mm.
subjects about the war. Oh well, that's one
Yes.
that
Mm-mm.
could become scary if you're not careful. It's like that.
Oh, oh.
Yeah, it could become scary if you're not careful because if you're not
Vietnamese
very
people know how
careful,
to. Vietnamese people also knows how to fight. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
di ba?
that's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
Everybody knows how to fight there, so you have to be
yeah,
careful.
yeah, that's what I'm
Reserve
thinking.
lang.
That
Just be respectful of their culture, of
uh-huh.
their belief.
And get to know a lot about what they experienced for the longest, the conflict that they experienced
Mm.
before you venture into some topics that might not be
Mm-mm.
too good to talk about. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that you should be careful of,
Mm-mm.
and
Mm-mm.
you should always keep in mind. But what I found surprising, but actually I probably heard of before, was about the Ghost Month, because I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know that the dead are celebrated
Yes, for a month.
for a month. It's not even just about dressing up as monsters
No, no,
for a
no.
night. You're celebrating a whole afterlife for a month. So that's especially
That's how connected
that's actually
the
spectacular.
Vietnamese.
Yeah.
That's how connected the Vietnamese people are with their dead.
It's like, who needs Spirit of the Grass or
Wala, no.
Ouija?
Oh,
You
correct.
don't need that
Precisely.
because
You
they're
don't
already
need that.
there with you.
Just look at your grandfather's picture
Yeah,
and you talk to
and
him
you,
like, "Good
yeah, and
morning.
you probably,
How's everything? Please protect me. I'm going out. I hope I come home. I come home safely, Grandpa. Please protect me.
thank you for that. And
Thank
thank
you.
you also for everything that you've told us.
Well, I hope your listeners enjoy them, and if they find time to learn the culture, and if they really want to enjoy the culture of Vietnam, they should go.
Yes, yes, it's
They
still
should go
best
and
to.
visit.
Yeah, there's nothing to be afraid of.
No,
But-
The
okay,
only
so
thing afraid of is the size of your bank account. It's generally very cheap there. The food,
oh, okay, okay, yeah. You
it's
won't be
very cheap. It's very
you won't be
cheap.
scared of the prices. You
No,
know.
no, no, no.
Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. You're welcome, Reggie. You're welcome.
Hope to see you next time. It's been wonderful. Thank you, Sir George.
Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Again, thank you, George. And I hope that everybody else also had a lot of interesting takeaways from our Vietnam discussion. But it's time to change gears and move over to Australia, where I'll be joined by my good friend Rick Hawthorne. And I just have to say, it's gonna be different over there. So I hope you'll join me. Let's find out more. For this portion, I am joined by Rick Hawthorne. He's from Australia, but he's been in the Philippines for quite a long time. Rick, for the benefit of the listeners and eventually the viewers, can you just tell a bit about yourself to the audience?
Well, it's quite an extensive background, I guess, but I worked in the film industry, mainly the film industry, both with developing movies, movie film, which is a chemical side of the industry. And of course, as that ebbed away, I moved into digital. So it was a bit of a crossover for a number of years, although I have retired that from that business, but I still have a very strong interest in film. The whole career was a learning curve.
That was very, very concise, I could say. But I think the Filipino film industry, the movies, showbiz, does owe a lot to what you've done over the years. And yes, you mostly operate behind the scenes, but it's not any less significant.
It was an incredible learning experience because I'm immersed into a different culture as well, and a different language, and a different style of doing things, just to even get to the same result. So it was very interesting, very fascinating, and probably the best 38 years of my life, I think.
Very well said. And actually, we're going to hear more from you in the coming episodes. We talk a lot about Australia in our previous episodes, and we will hear more from Rick in the very near future. I guarantee that. But for the meantime, yeah, this is the season of scares, and I was hoping to ask you, what are the things that Australians might be scared about?
In relation to Halloween, it's very much a commercial thing, and I don't know how strong it is. There are in the stores at the moment costumes and things that the kids would have to express their fun in during the Halloween period, but it's not a really big
Somehow,
deal.
yeah, they still have to dress up.
Christmas is more of a big deal as it is in the Philippines. We've got Christmas decor for sale already, and it's only October. So, but as for scary things, I'm not really aware. It's just that as a child,
Yes.
and dressing up would be scary, and it just depends on the environment and what their peers are doing. All the kids will join together and do a few things and have a few gimmicks and dress up, but I don't know how extensive it is. And as for going around knocking on doors asking for candy, I don't know. I've been away too long, and there's always a suspicion of taking candies from a stranger. So put a dampener on certain things. And we've just had an environmental issue regarding the fake cobwebs that people can spray on their windows because they are
okay.
And small birds,
Yeah.
because it's springtime here, so we have a lot of small birds that are flying around, and they get caught in these synthetic webs. So I wouldn't be surprised next year if they were banned, actually, because
which is not what one thinks about, because in countries where Halloween is celebrated through costume and play, they're normally in winter time now. So yeah, it's a good thing to know that.
Well,
in Australia, it's approaching
changed.
spring instead.
Yeah, it just changed because of the environment and the seasons, of course. And remember, as far as I know, Halloween or hallowed time or whatever it was is a medieval British event. It was with
Yeah, good
fires,
point. Good point.
bonfires and burning of witches or whatever. Perhaps I'm not really sure. I'd have to check the facts. You've caught me right out here. Of course, it's a very traditional thing, but it's been hijacked by a lot of other commercial interests, and it's not. I don't think it's a really big deal. But as for the kids being scared, it's more exciting for them because the level of fear is apparent within the children. But as for adults, it's just another expense, and
There weren't really that many imaginary tales that you grew up with.
no, it wasn't. It's more historical folk tales, like explorers and bushrangers and things like that, and that's part of the history. And the petty criminals of the time and etc. So that was more in our history books, in our schools. We would talk more about that. I mean, I guess kids would play games. I probably would have played games where you try and scare somebody, but it wasn't in a sort of a formal sense like Halloween that I can remember.
Yes,
I don't ever remember dressing up as in Halloween or in a skeleton costume or anything.
It's different in a sense that the scares don't necessarily, involve those traditional vampires, witches, and werewolves. It's like
wizards and all that.
It's never really part of the. Yeah, it was never really that much part of the tradition, you could say.
There are stories about people thinking, "Oh, the house is haunted," or etc. So that does come up in conversation, and I thought, I sort of roll my eyes, thinking, well, I don't believe that's the case, but anyway, it's the imagination will play tricks on you. You'll get the stories of people who feel their house or a house is haunted, mostly old houses. So it's often built up with people making comments, or it comes together with storytelling, and then some people are very sensitive to that sort of prompting, and they realize, okay, someone died in this house, maybe it's still haunted, and they think they hear something, things like that. And sometimes people think they see something, but it's not the case.
If ever something does go bump in the night, you'd probably, even if you were an imaginative person, you'd probably think it was an animal, or
it'd be the wind, it'd be an animal, a possum, a bird, nothing that would trigger, I'm nervous, what's that? I wouldn't have, you get used to sound, so that's about all, and I just ignore it, go back to sleep or turn up the television volume or something like that.
Yeah, and even when you're in a dark place that's really away from the city, maybe you're in the bush, when you encounter stuff there, you don't necessarily think of mythical beings.
No.
You're just worried about your own physical safety because it might be some kind of animal that you're probably disturbing, or.
I guess in my area, this is the season for snakes. I haven't seen any this year, but I saw a couple last year. But I don't go out walking at night, so.
You've been to the Philippines. You know that in the Philippines there's still some fear over witchcraft. Like old practices that have to do with the dark arts. I never really hear about that in Australia.
We're just a young country, of course. We don't think along those lines.
You would never gravitate to concepts like a spirit world.
We don't, but our Aboriginal. Native Australians, the first.
Oh, okay, yes.
Now they have a whole world of symbolism, spiritualism, which is totally different, which we aren't really understanding. We're aware it's there. Of course, we don't understand it, and because our assimilation is on different levels, we don't feel it, and we don't indulge in those beliefs. But whether we believe it or not, I guess it's like religion. You give it the respect whether you believe it or not. Everybody has a different belief. So the native Australians, the Aboriginals, they will have their own beliefs, and if it governs their life spiritually and how they manage their life, that means it's working for them because it's a practice, it's tradition,
Yes.
and it sinks into their mental well-being, and how they've survived for 65,000 years off the land.
That's another pretty interesting topic we may have to discuss, in the future. How about the real fears that you think might be confronting Australians? Not just about Halloween, but real stuff. So I would say, me as a Filipino, I would fear dengue, something like that. Something solid as that. Like allergies. I don't know.
No, I don't think our real fears are medical or disease related, because I believe we've managed all this. I think it's more possibly the environment, because it's been played up because of aspects of.
What do you mean?
Aspects of how
Climate change?
Yeah, well, that's a big thing. That's really much a hot topic. It's mainly what's happening around the world, actually. That's the
Yes, okay, yeah. You were
the news bulletins and what's going on. That's a fear, because we are the lucky country.
Yeah,
you don't want that to change. Well, it will change, but I think the fear is more in the world's political sphere, the world's economy, peace and order situation around the world. I think that's the biggest fear. So that impacts on the environmental fears, and of course that the climate change issue and the reality of that as well.
You seem to be saying that there is the fear that Australia's lifestyle and society would be drawn in to the troubles that affect other countries.
The whole world is linked economically. Yes.
Yes. It would be inevitable that somehow there will be ripple effects in your own society.
With our previous governments not supporting a lot of local enterprises, we're a little bit vulnerable because we do rely on a lot of imports. And that's a problem if it comes from regions that are not peaceful, or regions that are actually having their own economic problems, then that's just going to be a major concern for us. I guess you could interpret it as a fear. I don't think they use the word scary, but they just sort of are resigned to the fact that it's not going to be good for a long time.
You think things aren't going to be smooth sailing for the meantime? That's
no, it's not. And we survived beautifully during the GFC in 2000.
Oh, okay, yeah, the financial crisis in 2000.
Very well, but COVID really cost all these countries in the world 3 years of economic growth, and to play catch up, the inflation had to go up, and it's not coming down quick enough. And then will it ever be the same as pre-COVID, pre-pandemic conditions? The world changes. The world's always changing. Look what's happening now in the Middle East. It's always changing.
Okay, so let me just ask you one other thing, but I hope you can prepare for it, Rick. This is part of discussions in Europe, but I'm just giving you this preamble. How about migrants? Is it a fear over there? I'll give you time to frame your answer. It's okay.
These are just opinions, but But Australia was built on immigration, and there are many cultures and dialects that have moved, that have assimilated into Australian lifestyle. When I was working in the 1970s in Sydney, Australia, I worked with in a company that had 29 different nationalities working,
Mhm, mhm.
and we only had 106 employees. So I had nationalities I'd actually, because I was only young, I don't think I was really aware of. And I realized, oh,
Mhm.
yes, that country there, that religion there, etc., that skin tone there, etc. And it was fascinating. And I've always been fairly open-minded about that. There is quietly, I believe, there's
Mhm.
still a level of bigotry and racism,
Mhm.
uh, but it comes out only when things are a little bit tough. There's communities everywhere now, and these are communities more than
Mhm.
communities that I weren't aware of when I was younger, because we had Italian, Greek after the war, we had the Vietnamese, we always had a sprinkling of Chinese because the Chinese were here in the 1800s in the gold mines. Then all the other European cultures came in after the war, or even
Mhm.
earlier. Um, and then certain religions came in, etc. Between World War One and after World War Two. So it's been quite an interesting mix and very diverse. But I think there's a little bit of immigration fatigue at the moment, perhaps because communities are now, there are suburbs in big cities where the the higher there's a high percentage of mainly a different culture. It's either
Mhm.
more Korean or more Chinese, or it's or more Indian, Pakistani, etc. There's more, and people think, oh, some people, the older generations will think, oh, we're being taken over. But people will think that because they look at it, and then everywhere they look, there's somebody who doesn't look like them. Whether they're English or Irish background, they feel we're outnumbered. That doesn't help the situation, because when people migrate to any city, they will always try and join with like-minded people from their own country. It's
Mhm.
nothing untoward. It's just that a lot of people are thinking, everywhere I go, I see that culture or that culture, and they feel they're getting a little bit outnumbered. That's all. And so it comes up in conversation in a negative sense, in a little bit of a racist
Mhm.
overtone. And I don't think it's not malicious, but it's always in the back in the back of the mind, and it comes up as a negative.
I appreciate that you're very honest about it, and
Well, that's my
I
opinion.
think,
My opinion. There are
yeah,
facts
I mean,
to dismantle my opinion or maybe to validate it, but it's an opinion. And I have an opinion because
yes, yes, yes.
lived in a foreign country
Mhm.
for 38 years and had no interest in being or making any racist comment, because
Yes,
I
yes.
loved where I lived.
I have to, you know, I have to make it clear to, anyone who listens in here at this point that, Rick has been living in the Philippines for quite a long time, and
38
he's the
years.
most, rational and accepting person that I know. So, he's not the type who would support racist views. So, yeah, I just want to make that clear.
I can still make a
Mhm.
measured comment on situations or
Yes.
people's character, like we all can, but it's never ever going to have a racist overtone, ever.
What I can say is the really good thing that's been happening with regards to questions of race is that there is a lot of discussion about it. I am very impressed that there is a lot of discussion about it, because if people just keep talking about it and exchanging information about it, there's a path forward as opposed to not talking about anything.
Never walk around in life with a closed mind. Be a very lonely mind, actually.
This is just as enlightening as my conversation before with George about Vietnam. So I really appreciate the time you've given, Rick. Some of the topics we've discussed today can be discussed more in depth in future episodes. And basically all of our previous episodes, we really did touch on different aspects of life in Australia, as Rick will in future episodes. So thank you very much again, Rick. I hope I will see you again. I'm sure that the audience enjoyed this very, very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, Rick. Your concluding remarks, they were really, really comforting. I hope you all enjoyed our discussions for this episode, and for the meantime, we will have to conclude with Rick. But don't be afraid. Yeah, I know. There'll be more episodes to come, one arriving in the middle of November, no less. The topic will be a surprise, but just as fun, chill, and enjoyable. It's just so much better to keep things a surprise for now. So please do keep updated. Click on those subscribe or follow buttons depending on what platform you're using. I'm still organizing our social media, so I'll update you on the progress I'm making on that. But I hope that by next episode, everything will be set up. And in the meantime, you can check out our back catalog. There are already 4 episodes up, and the links are provided either on the screen or in the description. And so, have a great time, everyone. Again, this is Reggie. Hope to see you again soon. And prepare to be even more unshocked.